Okay, in this part of the video we're going to talk about the different adjustments you have on the windows in these doors. There's a lot more adjustment than you might think. And we're going to go through these one at a time. This car is number 21 ChopTop. It's my project car. And the reason we're videotaping this one is because it's all wide open. The door's all wide open. We can take a look at it real easy. These things right here in the top, there's one at each end, or there's two of them. They adjust these pads on the inside. These pads here on the inside of the window, they adjust just the inside pads. We also have this adjustment right here, and there's another one right here. Those adjust the stops for when the window goes up. There's a spool that's on the window, part of window hardware, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And they adjust where the piece hits, where the spool hits, and it stops the window when you go up. We also have an adjustment at the top of this rear rail, and that's these two screws right here. That top of that rear rail can be moved left to right, or north to front to rear on the car. Say 3/8 of an inch each way from where that thing is right now. That moves the window forward and rearward in the door, fore and aft, if you will, and that comes in handy sometimes. This adjustment's one I have to show you from both sides of the door. It's this adjustment right here. It moves up and down, and it's right here above the armrest thing on the inside of the door. And what it does, kind of hard to see, but the rear scissors, when you have that thing and you need to adjust it, it adjusts the scissors track, the lower rear scissors track, up and down. And what that does is it adjusts the level of the window as it goes up and down. It adjusts whether it's going up and down parallel or straight, or if it's if the window is cocking. That's a pretty neat adjustment, and it also aids in when you're setting your spool adjustments here too. Try to take a view of it from the other side. It adjusts this rail right here, right where my finger is. It adjusts this rail up and down on this end, and that adjusts the window for how it goes up like this. You know, the level, if you will. Okay, one more adjustment we have, and it's again on this rear rail. Remember we talked about it before. It'll adjust fore and aft in the car to move the window forward and back. And then we also have an adjustment, looking up from here, we have an adjustment, this screw and this screw over here. You loosen those up, and this arm will come towards the outside of the car or the inside of the car. That helps to move the window in and out. It helps to adjust the top edge of the window, if you will, to where it's up against the seal, or if it's back away from the seal. In other words, too tight or too loose against the seal. You can just loosen up these two screws and move this out in some cases, or in some cases, if you need an adjustment in that area. These adjustments will come in handy, especially if you're putting these windows into a car that's not one of the chops that we've done. And they may come in handy doing chops that we've done. We've been doing them for several years, so and the windows are pretty uniform from window to window as far as we've inspected. But the adjustments in your doors are different from car to car, you know, as far as where they're set to start out with. Another thing I want to discuss is the door seals, the seals around the door frames. I'm going to show you several seals, and some of them are worn out to start out with. Some of them have different configuration, like especially up in here. Some of them, see how this one here's got a little ramp going in here. These things are 20 some odd years old. They've been used for years, and from car to car, some of them are worn, and some of them have been exposed to a lot of sunlight, and you know, the rubber's breaking down, if you will. So far, we've been able to use these rubbers on just about every car we've done, you know, without having to replace the rubbers. But some of them are in worse condition than others, so you just got to be careful and take your time and patience in adjusting. Okay, here's another window seal. This is an 88 Fiero that we have in here for a V8 swap. We're not doing a chop to this. This car hasn't been chopped or isn't going to be chopped. But for example, you can see the difference between the last rubber that I showed you and this one. See, this is flattened out back in here. I don't know why. Hard to say. But it's flattened out back in here. You can see it's... So if we were doing a chop on this and fitting windows to it, that might be an issue. I don't really know. I'm going to show you something else here that we got going on. If you put your finger up here to this drip rail on a stock Fiero, which is this, that's what this is, and you know, stick your finger in here against this metal that holds the rubber, and up against the drip rail, put your finger in there and run it down along like this. You'll find that the gap gets wider right about here. The stock Fiero window tilts in right there. And then as you run down here, you'll see that it maintains that tilt in, if you will. For some reason, the stock Fiero windows, and I've noticed this since we started this window project, is the stock Fiero windows are tilted in right here just a little bit. In other words, the gap is wider right here than it is right here. When we've done chop tops over the years, when we go to put it back together, we don't put the drip rails back on. I don't like drip rails anyway. But when we put in this channel that holds the rubbers, we've taken that dip out of there, made this line parallel all the way down. In other words, at the front end of it, right in here, we've moved those rails outboard. Well, now with the glass windows, we're finding out that it's supposed to be in. So on some of the cars, when we start going through these instructions, on some of the cars that we're going to look at, we may have to remount this end of the drip rail and move it in, or this end of the channel that holds the rubber, we may have to move it in here like it was on the original car, because sometimes the window doesn't catch right and may not catch right in this area here, and that may require a little bit of movement on this window channel. We don't know yet. But we'll find out as we go through these cars that we're going to do here. Okay, this is the same 88 Fiero that's in here for an engine swap. It's not in here for a chop or anything. But I was looking at we're looking at the rubber seals around the windows, and also we just covered this deal here with this drip rail, and being the window channel, the piece that holds the rubber, the channel in here for the rubber. Is lower in towards the center of the car right here in this area, you know, through here, than it is than what you would think. It's less of a gap here at the left than there is right up here. There's a bigger gap, so something to keep in mind. And then what we are looking at the window seals, and we're looking at the condition of the seal all the way down. But you know, you see there's variation from car to car on a stock Fiero. And how the windows are, or how the seals are. But see, these windows have been in this car for a long time. These seals have been in here, so they conform pretty well. Now we're going to be putting, if we were doing a chop top on this car, we'd be putting a new window in against a seal that's been using the stock window for the last 20 some odd years. So we have to work a little bit harder at getting the windows to go up against the rubber the way they should. Or you can just put brand new rubbers in if you can find where to buy them.